This is GoMath, lesson 7.2, and in this lesson we're going to learn how to write fractions as sums. Now, the first thing we need to know is what is a unit fraction. These instructions tell us to write 5/6 as a sum of unit fractions. Well, I know that sum means the answer to an addition problem. So we want 5/6 to be the answer to an addition problem, but we can only use unit fractions. Now, a unit fraction is a fraction that always has 1 as the numerator. So for 5/6, the unit fraction is going to be 1/6. If I was using eighths, the unit fraction would be 1/8. If I was using tenths, the unit fraction would be 1/10, and so on. So no matter what your denominator is, your unit fraction is going to have a numerator of 1 with that same denominator. So for instance, if I use 5/6 and write it as a sum of unit fractions, I'm going to write 5/6 is equal to, and like we said before, the unit fraction is going to be 1/6. And I'm going to add enough 1/6 together in order to get 5/6. So here I have 1/6 plus another one gives me 2/6. This one makes 3/6. This one makes 4/6. And this one makes 5/6. And just to double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/6. And that's how I write any fraction using a sum of unit fractions. So let's pretend I was going to do 7/8. Well, my unit fraction in this case is not going to be 1/6 now because my denominator is now eighths. So I'm going to use 1/8 as my unit fraction. And I'm not going to make 5 of them because my new numerator is 7. So I'm going to need 7 1/8 fractions. So 1/8 plus another one. Now I'm at 3 of them. This one makes 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that is how we write a fraction as a sum of unit fractions. Now, the second thing this lesson asks you to do is write a fraction as a sum. And it doesn't tell you you have to use unit fractions. It just says you have to write it as a sum. And we know the sum is the answer to an addition problem. So let's try a few examples. The first one we could do is 3/4. So I know that when I add fractions, I have to have a common denominator. We learned that in the last lesson. So since I have to have a common denominator, I know that my fractions are going to have 4 as the denominator. And since I'm looking for a sum, I know that I'm going to be adding these together. So then I'm going to look at what numbers I could add together in order to get the answer of 3. Well, 3 could be broken apart into numbers, the add-ins of 2 and 1. So 2/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. And I can double check this by saying 2 plus 1 equals 3, and then make sure my denominator stayed a 4 the whole way across. Let's try it with another one. Let's use 5/6 again. Well, I know that my denominator is going to be 6 because it is over here and I have to use common denominators. So let's think of some numbers that I can add together in order to get 5. Well, I could use 1 and 4. 1/6 plus 4/6 equals 5/6. I could also use 3/6 plus 2/6 equals 5/6. Now, you don't only have to use 2 fractions. Sometimes it can be broken up into more than 2 add-ins. Maybe you have 3 add-ins. Maybe you have 4 add-ins. Really, this lesson doesn't ask you to do it a specific way, so you can choose whichever way you want to do it. Let's try 10/12. Well, 10/12 can be broken up into 2 different fractions. I could do 4/12 plus 6/12. I could even do 3/12 plus 7/12. But instead of limiting myself to 2 different add-ins, let's try it with 3 add-ins. Well, I know that I'm going to use 12 as my denominator because it has to stay a common denominator the whole way across. So now I'm going to think of 3 numbers that will add up to give me 10. Let's do 1/12 plus 3/12. Well, that leaves me with 4, so that means I have 6 left. 1/12 plus 3/12 equals 6/12. And in order to check this, I'm just going to add my numerators across. I know that 1 plus 3 is 4, So 6 more gives me 10. And that is how we write fractions as sums.